As the consultation work for Article 23 legislation is underway, Secretary for Security Chris Tang and Secretary for Justice Paul Lam told TVB News the proposed state secrets law won't be limited to government secrets, but also those from private companies. They include confidential information on critical infrastructure. The two officials said while criticisms towards the government are still permissible, the expanded incitement charge might outlaw biased and exaggerated censures. The one-month consultation period for national security legislation under Article 23 of the Basic Law will wrap up at the end of this month. The government recommended that it will be an offense if state secrets are disclosed without lawful authority and would likely endanger national security. And state secrets encompass 7 areas, including major policy decisions and the city's socio-economic development. Speaking to TVB News, Secretary for Security Chris Tang said they also cover state secrets from private companies. Any clearer guidelines to the public so they won't really commit a crime unknowingly?
The information doesn't really limit it to government information. It may also include information relating to critical infrastructure. For example, where we store all those engines that they generate electricity, so that's critical, right? It will be very likely that the national security will be affected, will be in danger.
When asked if the revelation of MTR confidential documents that brought the Shatin Central rail link scandal to light also constitutes an offense, Tang said even if it affects the government's reputation, it doesn't necessarily compromise national security. Another proposed clause of concern, it can be an offense to disclose what appears to be state secrets.
We have to find a new offense to regulate those improper behavior.
But they're not state secrets by nature. So.
Yeah, but they pretend to be state secret. But by doing that, people will believe it is state secret, and then it may also endanger public security, and it may also cause chaotic situation in the society.
But would that hamstring journalistic work and other whistleblowing efforts? Would the government consider exemption given to maybe journalistic work for the sake of public interest?
Such circumstances, the public interest, it's higher than the risk of such the national security risks. So in that circumstances, probably we may think about that. But I think the threshold will be very high, and this is not very often.
So in some cases, it's possible for the public interest to override the national security law?
Override the risk of national security.
Okay, so it's still possible to override the law?
Yeah, so we're thinking about it.
Tang added negative news or criticisms can be discussed based on facts but should not be exaggerated or embellished. This as the government proposes in its Article 23 legislation plan to expand the incitement offences covered in existing laws to include those targeting legislative bodies and the central government's offices in Hong Kong. On the possible extraterritorial powers of the proposed legislation, Secretary for Justice Paul Lam told TVB News that would likely be triggered over more severe offences such as treason.
Hong Kong residents or Chinese national, they owed the duty of allegiance to our country. It doesn't really matter whether the act is committed within the territory of Hong Kong or outside. And what we recommend is that we will look into the gravity of individual offenses, but we will be very careful and ensure that the applicability of our offenses will be consistent with public international law principles.
What about diplomats who need to comment on political cases on behalf of their countries?
To diplomats, they are entitled to certain immunity, provided that they behave or act in a way within the boundaries of the law or within the boundary prescribed by the international treaties.
On whether authorities could bar or delay the meeting between suspects and their lawyers, Paul Lam said there might be a mechanism in place preventing lawyers from relaying messages from the suspect to other accomplices.